Kriya Pranayam. I. Deep breathing with throat sound. Start the practice of Kriya Pranayam. Assume your favorite meditation position. Sit facing east. From now onwards, you can utilize the trick described previously, sitting on the edge of a thick cushion so the buttocks are slightly raised. The chin is little down. Near the chest, your neck muscles maintain an even slight tension. Your fingers are interlocked like in the well-known photo of Lahiri Mahasaya. Mouth and eyes are closed. Feel that the center of your awareness is located at medulla while the inner gaze converge effortlessly on Kutastha. Inhale deeply through the nose, producing an unvoiced sound in the throat, like in Ujjayi Pranayam. 3. To make certain the sound is correct, concentrate only on increasing the friction of the air flowing through your throat. A muffled sound will originate. Increase its frequency. If the surroundings are perfectly still, a person could hear it within a 4 to 5 meter radius, by no means outside it. Kriya Pranayam is to be practiced with a deep abdominal breathing. This means that during inhalation, the upper part of the thorax remains almost immobile while the abdomen expands. Shoulders are not raised. During exhalation, the abdomen comes inside. Count the number of breaths utilizing a mala, rosary beads, or the fingers. To start, you will practice 24 breaths. In time, you will increase by 12. 2. Mentally chant Om in each chakra. Enjoy the breathing process. During inhalation, Om is mentally chanted, or, more simply, mentally placed, in each one of the 6 chakras from Muladhara to medulla. During exhalation, Om is mentally chanted in the medulla and in all the other chakras coming down to Muladhara. Don't lose the focus of your inner gaze on Kutastha. It is clear that going up and down the spine, producing the throat sound and at the same time placing Om in each chakra is difficult. However, Lahiri Mahasaya wrote that going ahead without chanting Om in each chakra, your Kriya becomes tamasic, of negative nature, and many kinds of useless thoughts arise. Therefore, try to calm yourself and get this result. Have a deep breath. Then another. Don't worry about the length of inhalation and of exhalation. After some breaths, you discover that your breath lengthens naturally. Enjoy the beautiful feeling of fresh air that seems to come up through the spine and pierce each chakra. Enjoy the warm exhaled air permeating each zone of the body from top to bottom. You actually perceive this. This is not a figment of your imagination. Merge your awareness with the beauty of this deep breathing. A short pause between inhalation and exhalation, and between exhalation and inhalation comes naturally. The pause do not last more than 2 to 3 seconds. Each pause is a moment of comfortable peace. 3. Perceive the energy moving through the spine. After some days or weeks of regular practice, during inhalation, you will perceive a cold current coming up through the spine, or simply a diffused fresh sensation. During exhalation, you will perceive a lukewarm sensation in the spine. Exhalation could be longer than inhalation. During the last part of the exhalation, there is a clear perception of the navel moving in toward the spine. By refining this experience, being more aware of the navel moving inward and of the action of the diaphragm muscles, you will feel an ecstatic sensation. 4. Listening to the sound like a flute of the breath. Make the sound of the breath subtler and subtler. The exhalation arising in the nasal pharynx has a fine sound like a faint whistle. Symbolically speaking, they say it is a flute of Krishna. Lahiri Mahasaya described it similar to blowing air through a keyhole. He explained that this sound has the power to cut out any external distracting factor, including thoughts. Therefore, he says it is a razor which cuts off everything related to the mind. In order to have an idea of it, take a whistle, blow, diminish, until it is barely audible. Consider an empty perfume sample, without cap. Close one nostril. Put the opening of the sample under the open nostril and have a long but subtle exhalation. Move up and down the sample, experiencing all the variations of the produced whistle sound. At a certain point, you will obtain a fantastic whistle and say, "This is it, this sound is produced in the upper part of the nasal pharynx." If you feel it, you have only one duty more, letting that the sound absorbs your mind completely. When you cross the number of 48 repetitions of Kriya Pranayam, move the focus of your awareness from Kutastha to fontanelle. If you decide to face this situation, you can, from now onwards, after about 4 times 12 repetitions of Kriya Pranayam, move the center of your awareness into the upper part of your head. Kriya Pranayam is to be practiced by adopting a specific mudra, which is an evolution of the classical Shambhavi mudra. Let us learn it. Shambhavi mudra is the act of concentrating on the space between the eyebrows, bringing the 2 eyebrows toward the center with a slight wrinkling of the forehead. Now, there is a higher form of Shambhavi that requires closed or half-closed eyelids. Lahiri Mahasaya, in his well-known portrait, is showing this mudra. The eyes look upward as much as possible, as if looking at the ceiling, but without any head movement. The light tension perceived in the muscles of the eyeballs gradually disappears and the position can be maintained rather easily. A bystander would observe the sclera, white of the eye, under the iris, because very often the inferior eyelids relax. Through this mudra, all one's prana collects at the top of the head. The practice seems to have a life of its own. You will eventually have the impression of crossing a mental state, which is like falling asleep, then suddenly returning to full awareness and realizing you are basking in a spiritual light. It's like a plane emerging from clouds into a clear, transparent sky. Remark: this practice is a real jewel. It embodies the quintessence of beauty. Time goes by without much notice, and what could seem to be an exhausting task turns out to be as easy as a moment of rest. However, we must remember that to practice of Kriya Pranayam with a strong concentration on the upper part of your head is not appropriate for a beginning or medium-level students. Developing a strong magnet in Sahasrara is the most powerful way of stimulating the Kundalini awakening. This implies acting on our subconscious mind, bringing to the sphere of consciousness some contents that we are not able to assimilate. The person who experiences this, especially if he is far from emotional maturity, might experience an entire range of negative moods,